want to welcome on Alex and Amanda from Google, and then Corey Levine from Direct Agents. We are going to talk through how Google is approaching AI and what the future holds with media buying using AI. Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. I know everyone's really excited for this session. So could you quickly introduce yourselves as well before we get started?
Sure, I'll jump in. I'll go first. Hi, everybody. My name is Corey Levine. I am the VP of Integrated Media here at Direct Agents, and I oversee the paid media strategy across the agency.
Cool. I'll go next. Hi, everybody. I'm Amanda Feld. I'm a strategic agency manager at Google. So I work with top agencies like Direct Agents on their Google advertising and help bring them the latest and greatest in the industry.
Hi, I'm Alex Sewich, and I'm product lead on pretty much performance products here. So search, smart bidding, automation, and I work with the global leads and PMs, and actually introducing best practices in the landscape of agencies and customers. So super excited to be here.
Awesome. And like I said, I know everyone's really excited to hear about what Google is doing with AI, what the future of AI looks like for Google. So I want to start with more of like, before we dive into the details, more macro, because I think a lot of people don't understand some of the details on how AI actually works, and that causes a lot of confusion down the line. So Alex, you are probably the best person to speak to this right here. Can you just talk to me, how does AI actually work?
That's a great question, isn't it? And even I guess the people who build the actual AI tool have a hard problem like defining it. But in a nutshell, it's the ability of machine to learn from experience and the data. And the key here is to understand is like they're taking the predictions and experiences. There's no like hard code involved. It's just simple math, right? You give it a goal, which is called reward function or Q, and the system will make math predictions to chase the goal. It makes some sort of actions, it observes the environment and sees how what happened really, and if it was a success based on the Q function, that reward, it repeats only successful actions. It's called reinforced or positive reinforced learning, and the cycle repeats again until it becomes really perfect. So the ability of machine to mimic how human will solve the problem and making the math predictions to get to that reward that's what machine learning is. And there's a different system using key, you can build on it, but the key that you have to have a reward function, and you have to have a process of really reinforced learning to get to what your desired outcome is.
Okay, that's very helpful. I know you said sometimes even people who are in AI have a hard time talking about it. I remember hearing something once that said, like, if you can't explain it in 2 sentences or something, maybe people don't understand, but I don't think AI fits into that. It's so much more complex. Okay, so let's pivot to the implications, right? So we talked a little bit about how we're using AI in the last session, but I'd love to hear from you. What are the largest implications for marketers? Where do you think marketers get the most value from AI?
Yeah, I think early adoption is key. AI in marketing, it's not a future concept, it's here. And you don't want to be the ones waiting before you embrace it, because your competitors are already diving in, they're already becoming experts. We're seeing most marketers happily embrace AI in marketing. So if you haven't yet, what are you waiting for? I think the first and most important step to assess your business and decide which conversions matter to your overall business objectives. So don't just think about your campaign objectives, but for your business objective, what matters most. Once you identify that key conversion or key goal, you ensure, of course, proper tracking, you understand how things should be set up, and then you have that solid foundation ready to utilize AI and to continue to grow with AI as AI capabilities continue to grow and evolve. So the success of everything you do within Google Ads, like bidding, creative, format, all of that is contingent on you having the correct conversions listed in the system as your priorities. Like Alex said, it's learning based on what you input. So as long as the inputs are correct and the conversions are really what matters for your overall business, everything like smart bidding will just help you reach those right people in the right time.
Oh, that's interesting. Corey, yeah, like what's your perspective on that? So that's obviously Google, for Google, what is the most important and what marketers really need to kind of double down on. But do you find that that's like also like the macro trend, or?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, one is I'd like to stress what Amanda said. I do believe that early adoption is going to be key to success for all marketers and brands. But while it's hard to say exactly what the biggest implication is going to be on marketers, since it is changing so frequently, and we were at the beginning. I do believe the biggest immediate impact for media buying perspective is going to come from how buyers are setting up their campaigns and are able to test creative variations at scale. So we've already seen platforms, Google, Meta, everyone's making huge pushes towards more of that automated creation through a Performance Max or an Advantage Plus, and everybody's rolling out generative AI capabilities, whether it's for text or images. However, in the long term, I'm actually bullish on the impact AI will have on measurement, especially in a world where data privacy continues to make measurement increasingly difficult, and AI could be a great way to kind of absolve that gap a little bit.
That's really interesting. Yeah, I'm really also excited about like the future of personalization and how that will obviously change as AI gets a little bit more sophisticated. So for right now, the value and what most marketers can do is really just start testing, right? Start testing the water, start trying things, even if you're maybe not super comfortable, and making sure things are set up. Because Amanda, to your point, if you're not doing it now, if you're not using these AI tools, you're going to be left behind, obviously. So the other thing I really want to talk to you guys about is the mindset of marketers, because AI, if you talk to anybody in the AI space, and Alex, you probably feel like this has been going on forever. When I talk to anybody who's really works in AI, like this has been coming up the last, 5-7 years. It only has really gotten the attention and the hype in the last year or so, or maybe even not year, 6 months or so, right? And that is a very short amount of time for the mindset of marketers to change. And we're asking people to really change their mindset on how they approach media buying and how they approach interacting with Google and marketing in general, right? And we were talking a little bit about this before, that when I talk to people and when I talk to brands, a lot of the beef that marketers have with AI and some of the platform tools is just that lack of transparency. But I think it's because they don't understand it maybe as well as they should. So can you guys just talk about how you think marketers' mindsets need to change to be successful? How you need to, how did you think of things before and how should you think of things now?
Yeah, exactly. And I think you definitely hit there on the head nail. It just historically, right, the people didn't have that outcome-based mentality. That's what we're trying to actually shift towards. If the AI gives you that opportunity to chase the goal, right, to get that dopamine from machines, so get the machine high, to get it actually addicted to getting you more conversions, more revenue. And whatever happens in the between, right, that the place where actually it just mathematical predictions. There's no like hardcore algorithm, right? So that's why there's no black box in a say. We have like marketing term black box, but there's no black box. It just learns, makes math predictions, and next time it gets better and better and better. It's all the math. It's just simple formula like your return on ad spend, your CPA. It just tries to hit that target you give, right? So that's why you need to shift it from that old school mentality of micromanaging different inputs like manual CPC based on all that stuff, right, to more of like a outcome-based approach where you start with the data. The data is going to be most differentiating point for you moving forward to. The better data you give it to, the better you inform the algorithm, right? To start from there, from your proper conversion tracking information you can bring safely with privacy in place for the system to analyze. Then you make a great content, you using the great tools you have from the AI space right now to create the most authentic content which people are gonna like. And then you also make sure you don't limit yourself. You're casting the wide net of reaching as many people as possible within that your target audience. And AI can do that for you. You don't have to, again, micromanage different settings, right? It finds it for yourself. And then it makes the adjustments, make predictions. It gives you insight what works or not. Good example of people discovering things or audiences they've never heard before was a company who was doing shelf foods for doomsday preppers, right? A really niche category. They couldn't scale. They couldn't find who else they can say sell those products to. And through discovering for AI categories, they've been able to find actually that sale enthusiasts or people going for long sale trips are actually perfect for that market, right? They've been able to uncover that brand with like casting by net, don't be restricted to yourself. AI help them to find that niche category, and they like quadruple their sales next month, right? So just power of that one is focusing on outcomes and then adjusting the targets rather than the micro settings. That's a key here to change the mindset towards you.
I want to hear from Amanda and Corey, but Alex, before we go on, I just think it's really funny that a doomsday prepper product was being driven by the success of AI. It just feels very like
right. It's really niche category, exactly.
If they only knew. Okay. Anyways, Corey, Amanda, I'd love to get your perspectives on this.
Yeah, well, I actually loved something that Alex mentioned, which was focusing on the outcomes. And I think a lot of brands and marketers, they really need to get comfortable with embracing AI as it relates to their optimization strategies. Alex and Amanda were mentioning the bid strategies and ensuring you're ranking your conversions, but the optimization flywheel has changed. And I feel that many marketers, though, are still living in the past. What I mean by that is a lot of brands out there are still over optimizing their campaigns, trying to put a manual optimization approach on things. And what that results in is asking their agency, their in-house teams, their partners to over optimize based on small data samples, which can actually lead to poor performance and hurt the overall flywheel. So what can marketers do? Like, that is not saying marketers need to just sit back, and kind of just let the algorithm do its thing. But marketers need to be focused more on understanding how the AIs work and analyzing larger data sets, because the AI is only as good as what it's being fed. The output's only as good as the input. And so we need to be focused more now as marketers on analyzing larger data sets, focusing on how that kind of ladders into the overall strategy, and making bigger, more impactful changes, then giving that AI the proper time to adjust, test, and perform within itself, and then rinse and repeat. But I think, so the biggest thing would be that mindset shift to adjusting what we believe optimizations are and the role marketers and agencies play in that, in order to ensure success and scale for the future of your brands.
Yeah, AI is our friend. I think people hear artificial intelligence and they think of those early 2000s movies where robots are taking over the world and stomping on your cars. But in reality, AI is here to help us in ways that we didn't even know were possible. The main attribute marketers need is trust. AI is not some machine that's going rogue, but as Alex explained earlier, it's like that precise ability to learn from signals you provide and that it observes. So that's why the conversion alignment that I mentioned is so important, because the success of AI in your marketing campaign depends on the signals and those parameters that you provide. But as long as those and the constraints are all set, you just need to trust the system and it'll provide the optimizations based on those signals, things that aren't humanly possible. And then that's how you'll see success in the AI-driven world.
Yeah, I think that's really important. I liked all of those points because it is going to be a really big shift for brands, for marketers, not just for themselves, right? For us all who are working with Google every single day, but how you communicate that upward as well, right? It is about selling that upwards, making sure you really understand it, you understand some of the nuances so you can properly communicate it and communicate it within your organization. Because Corey, to your point, there are a lot of brands and marketers doing themselves and their campaigns a huge disservice because they are stuck in the mindset of 2018 or whatever it might be. So hopefully if anybody has questions about that or how to position things internally, please reach out. We would be happy to help. Okay, so I want to dive into Performance Max a little bit because we can't talk to Google about AI and not talk about Performance Max. So it's one of the things most marketers are familiar with when it comes to the Google AI capabilities. So can you guys just talk a little bit about how Performance Max is going to affect client performance? How does it affect client success? What have you seen?
Yeah, absolutely. And then I think that's like continuing the conversation of how we can find the best fit potential customer, the next best ROI and efficiency for your customers, right? And it gets really tough when people only 5% of the time spending on search, which is by itself is a huge amount of time, but the rest of that they are spending on other display on YouTube, they're watching other content, right? Is the ability to find them cross network, is that's what challenging, and the search gets more and more expensive if all the inflation and all the your potential competitors are stepping in right there. So that linking together and then try with the AI and finding that, because like PMax is a goal-oriented campaign, right? It's the same like AI, it's like reward function there. I want to get the ROAS you're looking for, I want you to get to CPA you're looking for, and that's what we try to optimize for. But now not only in the search or shopping, but also chases for thousands and thousands, millions other websites where like your customers are, right? So that ability to find the next best return for your investment, the customer across pretty much every part of their customer journey, and that's what differentiate PMax, and that's what make it more efficient, because it's much cheaper to find them in other networks versus only chasing. It still does that search component, but also it brings that wealth of cross-channel network optimization and finding the next user, right? That efficiency, it actually helps to save you cost, right? So from millions and millions of customers and the campaigns we have seen so far, right? So for lead gen perspective, we already see that PMax drives 18% on average better efficiency, more conversions for your cost per acquisition, right? And on the retail, which evolution of Smart Shop, making like 25%, so even higher. So that ability to bring up the cross-channel data and use power of AI to find the best customer, that's what differentiates PMax, and that's where we see early success for sure.
Yeah, and
That's awesome.
Megan, before we even move on to the next question, I think it's important to kind of even just back that up. Talking across our clients, I'm not going to throw out like a specific benchmark because performance varies so greatly on different levels. But the main thing that we have noticed at Direct Agents is when we are running Performance Max, because we are actively testing all of these AI-driven campaigns. And also, one thing to note for other marketers out there is sometimes these campaigns actually run in different auctions sometimes for internally. So like there's an AI one versus standard. So it doesn't make sense yet to just go all in. But when we are testing the AI against the standard, what we have found is that the performance is backed up by the data, and we have seen more than not performance max performance. That was a mouthful. Kind of exceed the standard performance. And so while we continue to test that, I think what Alex was saying is right, where we have also seen very similar trends for all the clients that we have running Performance Max.
Yeah, and I think it goes to what you're saying. It's really hard to give a exact metric, but it's about also making sure when you are running Performance Max that you have everything set up correctly, right? If you're starting from a bad place, if you're starting from poor quality data and no segmentation, like that's not going to be good for anybody. So if you start from a good place, you can kind of get to a good place with Performance Max. Okay, so I want to pivot a little bit to consumer behavior. So on the consumer facing side, I saw that Google recently released a new AI powered like try on feature for apparel brands that users can essentially virtually try on tops essentially from different brands, choose models that look like them, their size or shape, etc., which I think is really interesting. We're talking a lot about the marketing implications, but I do think some of these consumer facing AI launches have and will affect consumer behavior. So, and that will obviously affect us as marketers and where we spend and how we spend. So can you talk a little bit about some of the things that Google is releasing and how you think that will affect how users engage with Google and just consumer behavior overall?
Absolutely. I think the consumer side is a big part of it. And I believe we will see a lot of these new AI powered features coming that, similar to the try on feature you mentioned, will benefit both the consumer and the marketer. So it's making things easier for the consumer because you can try things on from the comfort of their home. Who doesn't love that? And then from the marketer, from an advertising execution standpoint, it's a lot easier, as we discussed. And then also from a conversion perspective, if I'm hesitant to buy something, but I can try it on from home, it'll convince me of my interest and then I'll ultimately convert. That's a win for the marketer as well. In terms of new launches and what's coming, there are constantly betas being rolled out and being used by those savvy early adopting marketers. The great news is that by being a client of a Google Premier partner like Direct Agents, they have access to these betas, features, and formats. So before they're released to the public, we can access them and we can test out what makes sense for your client.
Great plug, Amanda.
I tried.
Corey, I'd love to get your perspective on kind of like broader consumer behavior as well.
100%. I do believe that how platforms like Google integrate AI capabilities into their products will 100% shape consumer behavior. I'm going to be very bullish on that prediction and say 100%. The reason I'm so bullish is because, so I'm personally a Google Lab user, and so I have now Google Bard integrated into my Google search app on my phone. And what I have found is that not only am I thoroughly enjoying my new experience, but as a consumer, what I expect from Google has completely changed. When I go to Google now and I do a search, I expect more of a conversation style response from Google on their search. And I love that I can either decide at that moment to scroll down and converse, or I could choose to converse with Google by pressing the converse button, which opens up the Bard interface. And so I think just knowing that, I do believe that we've all heard this before. Voice was supposed to completely change how a user searches with Google. And look, yes, maybe it did, but not like this. I as a marketer, I'm not gonna put Alex and Amanda on the spot, although we talk about this all the time about what that means for marketing and the ads and all that stuff. That's a whole different conversation. But how consumers will adapt based on AI with Google, I believe, yes, 100%, they're going to expect a different type of search experience, more robust answers, and I think that that in itself will just change the landscape, and then marketing will follow.
That's great. Okay, so I think we have time for one more question that I'd love to get you guys' perspective on. So I want to know, so you guys live in this AI world, and Amanda, you mentioned there's always like betas and things like that that people can get access to. So again, if you want access, please contact us. We'll see if this is possible. But I want to know the one AI tool that Google currently has that you don't think marketers are using enough. So if people were to leave and say, okay, I need to start doing this, but I don't think I know where to start, what would be the one most underutilized thing Google has launched in AI that people don't use?
Yeah, absolutely. And then I think you'll continue seeing the trend for us talking about that product for a long time. We've been talking about that product a long time. It's not a secret that Broad Match was one of the oldest products we have. It was a powerful but yet imperfect solution back in the days when I started it more than 10 years ago. We all we all had some challenges of adopting it early on and making sure that it has a precise audience targeting node. Recently, it has dramatically changed. A lot of with large language model adoption, with Google actually pioneered since 2015. It got smarter and smarter. So now it can understand like actual intent, what people are looking for. It understands the content of your website and landing page. It understands the previous searches you did or the customer did. It is acknowledging the keywords within other match types in your actual ad group itself. So you got much smarter with predictions. So back in the day, if you had a keyword for treating your pet at home, it could have matched to treats for pets, which is totally unrelated, right? Of course, it doesn't do it anymore. But then now, because of understanding intent, it actually can match to the keywords which would not explicitly have in your actual broad match term itself. So treating a pet without the pet, even though you not explicitly have it at home, but you can actually understanding that you don't require the vet actually to treat the pets, right? So like understanding that, and when you pairing that understanding the intent with large language model with the power of smart bidding, right? When you pair those two, actually we see that comparing to your other match types and evolution from that, you're seeing 35% more conversions for the same cost per acquisition, right? Because you're pairing the smart bidding power of AI of understanding and targeting that conversions you're chasing for with better understanding and matching technology for the evolution of broad match. That gets more powerful. So yeah, I know you've been there for a while in the market, but you have if you haven't tried it or for a while, the broad match, or give it another try, pair with smart bidding, make sure it learns and predicts what you're looking for from the target perspective.
Yeah, Alex, I will say this is not the broad match that maybe I grew up with. So it is a totally different beast. So I encourage people to check it out as well. Corey, what about you? What's one thing that people aren't using enough?
Yeah, I won't talk to one specific Google product, but I'll end it with, I don't think that marketers are testing different AI tools enough in general. And I think that that could be out of fear of performance or the unknown, or what Megan mentioned about the trust. But the truth of the matter is, like, here at DA, we've embraced these tools. Like, we know they're not going away. If you're gonna put your head in the sand, I highly advise against that, because this is not going to be a fad that just disappears. So we know that, we believe in that here. And so what we've done is we continue for all of our clients to rigorously test and gain initial learnings. We feel it's imperative, because the more you learn, the more you train these algorithms, the better they're going to get. And so if you could add your data into what Google is doing, maybe you don't see that great performance right out the gate, but it will get there. And like I said, it's not going away. So the big thing is, Alex mentioned broad. I'm going to take the stand of not enough brands and marketers are testing AI solutions due to the fact that they don't know what it will do to performance, or they get that cold feet. But I cannot recommend enough to kind of fight that feeling and just jump in and continue to learn, continue to test and grow. The clients that we are running that are seeing those tests, they're feeling good performance from it. And so we're excited to continue to gain those learnings and continue to roll those out.
Perfect. Yeah, and to your point, Corey, if people are worried about transparency, I wrote this down because it was like one of my favorite things that was said. Alex, you said there is no black box, so there's not like a secret black box somewhere. So I love that. That's how I'm gonna end the session. Thank you guys all for such a really great conversation. So next, I'm gonna pass it off to Jackson Richards, who's gonna be leading our next session on AI and creative. Thank you guys for tuning in for this wonderful chat.